Hello and greetings. Welcome to our first Fireside Chat, GatherVerse South America Tech for Humanity Summit. And thank you for the incredible panel that just did a wonderful and fantastic discussion there. Now, onto our fireside. My name is Thane Gitao. I'm the Communications Director for GatherVerse. And with me, I have the wonderful and lovely Golden, who we're going to talk about digital timelessness, building lasting brands in the age of AI. We're so happy to have you, Golden. But before we go into the chart, tell us who you are and why you're here.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I right now help founders and visionaries turn their messy ideas into structured systems. And so I like to tell people that I'm like their passenger princess on the journey of building their brand. I tell you where to go, what to do, things to set up, the frameworks that you need to move you and digital legacies that last, that can be built online. And so I don't really believe in chasing trends. I believe in refining truth until it shines. And I help visionaries and businesses plant seeds in the algorithm so they can future proof their success post AI boom. So that's why we're all here today.
Wow, we're happy to have you here. Golden, there's so many people, there are many brands watching you right now. And something stood out from what you say. You don't believe in just building brands and passing time and making it as short as possible. And that is why we're here to talk about timelessness. So what do you think about digital timelessness? What does that mean for you in a very fast moving digital landscape?
Yeah, well, let me start by saying timelessness is not about being stuck in a time. And it's also not about refusing to change. So,
Mm-hmm.
digital timelessness is actually having a core that's so clear, so stable, so unshakable that you can actually evolve without losing yourself. And I notice a lot of brands go through that where there is a shift happening and they make brand choices that really never aligned with their core values. However, one brand that I really love to point out when it comes to timelessness specifically is Hermes. They don't chase trends. That bag, it's always that bag from all the way back into the 1900s. They are still the same now. And so every refinement that they have to stay relevant in the present is
Mm-hmm.
all about the honor of what it already is. So it
Yeah.
doesn't go to just change drastically into this thing to fit in. It
Mm-hmm.
keeps its foundation into the phases of change and refines and tweaks it a little bit to kind of stay relevant, but it never changes to the point of being drastic. So when I think about digital timelessness, I think,
Yeah.
are you building something people return to and
Mhm.
can trust, or are you just keeping up with everything going on around?
Mm. That's very reflective, and thank you for that example. Uh, you've also mentioned something that I want to pick up from there, right? Why do you think so many brands fade away, and what separates those that fade away very quick and those that are stay for long?
You know, most brands don't fade away because they didn't innovate. I feel like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people right now are trying to stay relevant by embodying AI, by incorporating it some way, somehow into their business or their brand. But
Yes.
they actually fade away because they forgot who they were, right?
Mm, yeah.
They fade away because they forgot who they were. They made choices that didn't align with their core brand values.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I actually have a framework that I share with a lot of my talks. And so
Yes.
one of them is it's a five failure model.
Mm-hmm.
And failure one is the loss of core values, like I mentioned. Um, Brands fade away because they don't follow their core values. And one
Mm-hmm.
example is actually Jaguar back in 2024. decades of British heritage, luxury performance gone in a second because of a choice they made because they're trying to keep up with the trends. Number two is cultural tone. If you don't understand your culture community that you're branding to and you're trying to get to be a part of their lifestyle, then you're going to actually do a huge disservice. So Bumble actually did a horrible disservice to this back in 24. They
Yeah.
actually redacted one of their statements, but it was towards women. And that wasn't something that was aligned with the brand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a choice they made because at the time there's this big thing trending, and
Yeah.
so they had to redact it. So they kind of lost a lot of points when it comes to that. Failure three is AI over being resilient. So people are just using AI to use it, but you need to be resilient in some aspects of your business model and your brand to not do it, because by the way, you'll just stand out even more. If everyone's
Yes.
using a thing and you're not, you're actually
Mm-hmm.
going to stand out more in the community. And so the last one is marketing versus reality.
Okay.
I like to talk about Kellogg's CEO. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
they said that people eat cereal for dinner to save money.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is Kellogg created most of its store brands from a disconnect. It was a PR crisis. So
Uh-huh.
instead of saying, you know, we're creating cereal to nurture and nourish the minds of households, they said, no, we're just selling cereal because people
Yeah.
need to save money. And from there, their ingredients didn't reflect the timelessness of the brand. There was a lot of chemicals in it and didn't do a service to families. So that was a whole uproar. And so ultimately, I like to close that off just to say, like, brands that last, they fade away because they're making decisions that aren't from their core values, that aren't attached to the vision of where they want to be. And they
Mm-hmm.
ultimately just get lost in the
Yeah.
chaos of news and trends. And
Mm-hmm.
so they know their why. It's important to know your why very deeply, because
Yes.
every change, every pivot, it's going to feel like who you are. People are going to choose your brand and your products because of who you are and what you stand for, not because of what's trending.
Yes. Goldie. I love your insight. I love them, and I love how you put it with those four frameworks. But here's two things. There's something here. Just follow me on that. You mentioned about values. Brands aligning to their values and never forgetting who they are. And we have something called AI. There is the temptation to use AI everywhere. Let's be honest. Everywhere, anywhere, the temptation is how are you using AI to advance the business? And most businesses are using AI. So, how do you find that perfect balance between adapting to change that quite first and also staying rooted in your values and your why and just remembering the journey itself?
When it comes to the journey and the balance of adaptability, especially with
Mm,
change,
yeah.
um, the tension every founder kind of goes through, they feel like change is too much, you lose your identity, change is too little, you become irrelevant. So it's like, how do you walk that line, right? Well, I have a new perspective of change. I have a background in change management as a practitioner. However,
Wow.
the word I'd love to use right now when it comes to change is transformation.
Mhm.
You want to transform to reflect what the future looks like,
Mhm.
and not in a way of scarcity or survival, but in a
Yes.
way that you are thriving, right? I think of
Mhm.
a butterfly, for example. The caterpillar, it goes through its cycle, it goes in the cocoon, it comes out a butterfly. It has new heights, it has new opportunities, right? That's a
Yeah.
type of transformation that founders should start to kind of look into. And so, one thing I would like to recommend would be to write
Yes.
down three things that you that changed yourself, meaning you changed because you didn't want to, you had to. And then
Mm.
write down three things that transformed you. Like you were like, thank God I went through that change because now I'm this person. Write
Mhm.
down those three things. And then another thing is write down three things you no longer recognize about yourself or your brand. So if there's something that we went through and your brand no longer is aligned with that, take that away. You're allowed
Mhm.
to shift and refine, because these are going to be your non-negotiables. When you are operating from a place of this changed me and I didn't like it, this
Yeah.
transformed me and I loved it, you're going to start
Mhm.
to understand your decision making skills when it comes to partnerships, when it comes to strategy building and brand awareness, especially when it comes to your audience as well. So
Yeah.
balance isn't about standing like in the middle. It's about
Mhm.
knowing your center and so well
Mm.
that you can change
Mm.
without
Knowing
tipping
yourself.
over.
Mm. Knowing yourself. Without
Yes.
just maneuvering over. It's not about being just in a balance and being a, yeah, you know. But just to close us off, we could go a long way with this. But
Yes.
just one more question. What risks do you think or do you see founders in the future and now outsourcing too much of their voices from AI? Uh, I'm gonna just bring this AI over to you because I think it's the hot thing at the market currently.
Yeah, 100%. And I actually created a whole training for this, especially how to use like LLMs to sound like your voice in your brand.
Yeah.
And one thing you want to understand is either you're going to partner with someone like myself who has a background
Mhm.
in AI prompt engineering to help
Mhm.
you navigate your brand voice with AI,
Yeah.
or you're gonna learn that skill on your own. One thing
Mhm.
I feel like every business owner or anyone who has a brand building their brand, I feel like you all need to understand AI literacy. So taking some courses in AI literacy is super important at a beginner level, at an introductory level. It will help you with understanding how to communicate your voice in the brand. And
Yes.
I actually talk about three things on when you're using AI to create content for your brand, and that is your voice. So what is that? Is it a respectful tone? Is it a down to earth, loud, fun tone? You got to understand your voice, your values, like we touched upon earlier, and then also your vision. If your vision
Mhm.
doesn't align with the outputs AI is giving you, you need to be that critical thinker to change
Mhm.
it and shift it out and use words. One thing you want to do is write a list of words that you want to be known for so the AI can start
Yes.
using it more. Those are my quick tips for using AI and making sure the brand voice is heard.
Thank you for sharing those quick tips. Now, our dear audience, you've heard from Golden. She has so many gems to drop when it comes to brands. I want you to do a favor. Please follow with her, interact with her, and our gather was well for this fireside chat. Thank you so much, Golden. We're looking forward to have you for She Summit, by the way.
Thank
Right.
you,
Thank you so
Lynn.
much. Yeah, our time was all spent. But to you, GatherVerse team.